Wait, you don't deserve this scholarship. Disrespect, all of you!
Excuse me, how dare you?
This is outrageous!
Saw Principal Harrison's daughter sitting across from me, desperate, sweating, begging for a job. I felt nothing but fire. Pure, burning fire. Let me take you back. Back to the day that changed everything. The day Principal Richard Harrison destroyed my family in front of the entire school. I was 12 years old. 12. I remember walking down that hallway with my parents, feeling so proud. Mom had ironed her best dress, the pale yellow one with tiny flowers. Dad wore the suit he bought at Goodwill, the one he saved for special occasions. His hands were still rough from his construction job, but he'd scrubbed them clean. They were so excited. I'd made honor roll for the 3rd year in a row. Top of my class in everything. Math, science, English. My teacher, Mrs. Chen, had told them I was exceptional. She'd said I could go to any college I wanted if I kept working hard. Mom, Dad, there's Mrs. Chen. Come on. I called out, practically bouncing with excitement. Mom laughed softly, her accent warm and comforting. Slowed down. Mijo, let us catch our breath. Dad squeezed my shoulder, his callous hand gentle despite years of construction work. His just proud, Maria, as he should be, as W.E. should be. But before we could reach Mrs. Chen's classroom, a voice cut through the hallway like a blade. Excuse me. Excuse me. We turned. Principal Richard Harrison was striding toward us, his face red, his expensive suit pressed to perfection. Everything about him screamed money and power. Everything about us screamed, well, we were different. Are you Moses Rodriguez's parents? He demanded, his tone already condescending. Dad straightened up, trying to match Harrison's authority. Yes, sir. I'm Carlos Rodriguez. This is my wife, Maria. We're here for parent-teacher. I know why you're here, Harrison interrupted coldly. I need to speak with you. Now. My office. My stomach dropped. What had I done wrong? Harrison's office was huge. Mahogany desk. Leather chairs. Diplomas from Harvard and Yale covering the walls. Photos of him shaking hands with governors and senators. He sat down behind his fortress of a desk and didn't offer us seats. Let me be direct, he said, shuffling papers without looking at us. Your son has been nominated for the Presidential Scholars Program. Are you familiar with it? Mom's face lit up, tears already forming in her eyes. No, sir. What is it? Moses, did you hear? It's a national honor, Harrison said dismissively. Very prestigious. Full scholarship opportunities. Networking with the country's elite. Dad's voice filled with hope. That's wonderful. Moses has worked so hard. Yes. Well, that's what I need to discuss. Harrison's tone sharpened like a knife. He paused, letting the silence hang heavy in the air. Mr. and Mrs. Rodriguez, this program requires extensive family participation. Interviews, essays about family background, multiple meetings at prestigious venues, formal dinners with donors and university representatives. He leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers like a judge about to deliver a sentence. To be frank, I don't think your family is the right fit for this opportunity. The air left the room. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. I don't understand, Mom whispered, her voice small and hurt. Harrison sighed, as if he were explaining something obvious to a child. Mrs. Rodriguez, let me paint you a picture. These events are held at country clubs, 5-star hotels. The other parents, are doctors, lawyers, CEOs. They summer in the Hamptons. They golf at exclusive clubs. They speak the language of success. He gestured deliberately at my father's Goodwill suit, at my mother's yellow dress that she'd been so proud of an hour ago. I watched her hand move instinctively to smooth down the fabric, suddenly self-conscious. You work in construction, Mr. Rodriguez, and you clean houses, Mrs. Rodriguez. He scoffed, the sound dripping with contempt. These people don't want to hear about that. They want to network with peers, people who understand their world. Dad's voice shook, but he stood firm. Sir, this isn't about us. It's about Moses. He earned. I know what he earned. Harrison's voice exploded through the office. And that's precisely the problem. Do you know how this reflects on the school? On Emmy? I've spent 15 years building relationships with these families. Families that donate. Families that open doors. And now I'm supposed to send. He paused, looking at us with pure disgust. Well, you understand. Tears were streaming down my face. But I got all A's. I did everything right. Harrison didn't even look at me. Grades aren't everything. Son, image matters. Presentation. Your parents would be uncomfortable. Out of place. Frankly, embarrassing. Mom's voice cracked. We could buy new clothes. We could. Harrison actually laughed. The sound echoed in that big office, cruel and mocking. Mrs. Rodriguez, this isn't about clothes. It's about breeding. Class, you can't buy what you don't have. He stood up, signaling the meeting was over. I'm recommending the nomination go to another student. Emily Chen. Her parents are both surgeons. They golf with the mayor. That's what this program needs. My father stood too, his whole body trembling with barely controlled rage. You can't do this. Moses earned this. You're discriminating. I can do whatever I want, Mr. Rodriguez, Harrison said, his voice turning to ice. I'm the principal. This is MY school. MY decision. And quite frankly, if you have a problem with it, maybe Westside Academy isn't the right fit for your family at all. There are plenty of other, less demanding schools in the district. He walked to his office door and opened it wide. Now, if you'll excuse me, he said loudly, loud enough for everyone in the hallway to hear, I have other parents to meet, parents who actually belong here. We walked out of that school in silence. People stared. They'd heard. The hallway had been full of parents and teachers, and Harrison had made sure they all heard him dismiss us like we were nothing. In the car, my mother cried. Not loud, dramatic sobs. Just quiet tears rolling down her face as she stared out the window at the darkness. My father gripped the steering wheel so hard his knuckles went white, his jaw clenched tight. I'm sorry, mijo, Dad finally said, his voice breaking. I'm so sorry. We should have been more. Done more. Anger exploded in my chest. Dad, you didn't do anything wrong. He's wrong. He's a horrible person. Mom wiped her tears with the back of her hand. We tried our best. We always try our best. But I could see it in their eyes. The shame. The pain. They believed him. They believed they weren't good enough. That they had held Emmy back. That night, lying in my bed, staring at the ceiling of our small apartment, I made a promise. A vow that would shape the next 15 years of my life. I'm going to become someone, I whispered into the darkness. Someone so successful, so powerful, that Richard Harrison will regret every word he said. I'll make him see what he missed, what he threw away. I'll make him pay. 15 years. That's how long it took. 15 years of grinding, fighting, proving myself at every turn. I got a full scholarship to MIT, not through Harrison's precious program, through sheer, relentless work. I graduated top of my class, started at a tech company as a junior developer, worked 100-hour weeks, taught myself everything they didn't teach in school. At 25, I founded my own company, Rodriguez Tech. We specialize in AI-driven educational software. The irony wasn't lost on me. By 27, we'd gone public. By 30, I was a multimillionaire. By 32, I was on Forbes' 40 under 40 list. And through it all, every late night, every setback, every triumph, I thought about that night. About my mother's tears, my father's shame, Harrison's cruel laughter. I never forgot, and I never forgave. It was a Tuesday when everything changed. I remember because Tuesdays were when I personally reviewed all VP-level candidates. We were expanding our East Coast operations and needed a vice president of educational partnerships. My HR director, Jennifer, was walking me through the final 3 candidates. Okay, Moses, we have 3 finalists for the VP position. I think you'll be impressed. First up is Michael Chen from Pearson Education. Wait, I interrupted. Something had caught my eye on the screen. Go back. Who's the third candidate? Jennifer checked her notes. Oh, Sarah Harrison, currently Director of Student Services at... My heart stopped. Harrison. It couldn't be. Where did she go to school? I asked carefully, trying to keep my voice neutral. West Side Academy, then Princeton, Harvard MBA. West Side Academy. The words felt like poison in my mouth. Jennifer looked confused. Yes? Is there a problem? I stared at the screen, at Sarah Harrison's professional headshot. She had her father's eyes. No, I said quietly. No problem. Schedule her first. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. That night, I couldn't sleep. I pulled up everything I could find on Sarah Harrison. And there it was, her father, Principal Richard Harrison. Retired now, living in a modest condo in Florida. His wife had passed away 5 years ago. I found articles. West Side Academy had fallen on hard times. Enrollment down. Donations dried up. Harrison had been forced into early retirement after a scandal about financial mismanagement. And Sarah? She'd followed in his footsteps into education. But her career had been rocky, several jobs, never quite making it to the top. Her resume showed promise but never quite delivered. She needed this job. Badly. The universe was handing me everything I'd ever wanted. The chance to make Richard Harrison feel exactly what my family had felt. Powerless. Humiliated. Not good enough. I smiled in the darkness. Tomorrow was going to be interesting. She walked into my office at exactly 2 p.m. Professional. Put together. Nervous. And she had no idea who I was. Mr. Rodriguez. She extended her hand with a friendly, professional smile. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm Sarah Harrison. I stared at her hand for a moment too long before shaking it. Her grip was firm, confident. She had no idea she was shaking hands with a boy her father had destroyed. Please, sit, I said coolly. Harrison, that's an interesting last name. She smiled warmly. Yes, well, my father was in education for years. Principal at West Side Academy. Did you go there? The question hung in the air between us. I did, I said after a long pause. Class of 2010. Her face lit up with genuine excitement. Oh my God. Really? Small world. Did you know my dad? Did I know him? The words echoed in my head. Did I know the man who told my mother she was embarrassing? Who laughed at my father's Goodwill suit? Who stole my future because my parents weren't rich enough? We met, I said, my voice turning cold. Once. I watched her absorb the temperature change in the room, confusion flickering across her face. Tell me, Ms. Harrison, I continued, why do you want this position? She went through her prepared pitch. She was good, articulate, passionate about education, talked about closing opportunity gaps, serving underprivileged communities, all the things her father had denied me. And I truly believe education should be accessible to everyone, regardless of their background. She was saying, her eyes bright with conviction. My father always said. Your father said what? I interrupted sharply. She startled at my tone. He always said that every child deserves a chance to succeed. That we should... I let out a bitter laugh. Every child deserves a chance. That's rich. I'm sorry. Confusion and concern crossed her face. I leaned forward, years of anger finally finding their target. Let me tell you a story, Ms. Harrison, about a 12-year-old boy who earned the highest grades in his class, who was nominated for the Presidential Scholars Program, who worked harder than everyone else because he had to, because his parents were immigrants, because they cleaned houses and worked construction, because he had something to prove. Her face went pale. She knew, somewhere deep down, she knew where this was going. That boy's principal called his parents into his office during parent-teacher night. And do you know what he said? I paused, letting the moment stretch. He said they weren't the right fit, that they would be embarrassing, that they lacked breeding in class. He gave that boy's nomination to someone else, someone whose parents were doctors, someone who belonged. Oh my God! Sarah whispered, her hand covering her mouth. I stood up, my voice rising with 15 years of pain. That boy went home and watched his mother cry. Watched his father, a man who worked 14-hour days to give his son opportunities, apologize for not being enough, for not being educated enough, rich enough, white enough. Sarah stood too, shaking. Mr. Rodriguez, if my father, I didn't know. You didn't know. Of course you didn't. My voice dripped with contempt. You were probably at riding lessons or cotillion while my parents were being humiliated. While I was lying in bed, 12 years old, crying myself to sleep because a man with power decided I didn't matter. Tears were streaming down Sarah's face. I am so sorry. My father, he wasn't. She stopped herself. No, I can't make excuses for him. What he did was unforgivable. She sank back into her chair, her hands trembling. He changed. After he left West Side, she said quietly, the school fell apart. There was an investigation into where the donation money went. His career ended. His marriage, my parents fought constantly about it. About his choices. His pride. Mom died thinking he destroyed everything he built. And I should care because? I said harshly. She looked up at me, her eyes red but direct. You shouldn't. You have every right to hate him. To hate me by extension. She paused, wiping her tears. But I need you to know something. I went into education because of his mistakes. Because I saw what elitism and prejudice did. How it destroyed not just the people he hurt, but him too. Everything. I crossed my arms skeptically. Very touching. So this is your redemption story? Fix Daddy's mistakes. No, she said firmly. This is MY's story. I've spent 10 years working in underfunded schools, teaching kids whose parents work 3 jobs, fighting for programs that give opportunities to students who look like you did, who come from families like yours. She pulled out her phone and showed me her photo gallery. Kids, hundreds of kids, different races, backgrounds, award ceremonies, graduation photos. This is Miguel, she said, her voice passionate despite the tears. First in his family to go to college. MIT, full ride. This is Keisha. Parents were both incarcerated. She's at Yale Law now. This is Ahmed. Refugee. Didn't speak English 3 years ago. Full scholarship to Stanford. I looked at the faces. Saw myself in every one of them. I can't undo what my father did to you, Sarah continued, her voice breaking. I can't give you back that moment, that opportunity, that dignity. She paused, meeting my eyes. But I can tell you that I've dedicated my life to making sure no other kid experiences what you did. That no other parent leaves a school crying because someone told them they weren't good enough. The silence in my office was deafening. I walked to the window, looking out at the city I'd conquered, the empire I'd built, all of it fueled by rage at the man whose daughter now sat behind me, waiting for judgment. Do you know why I started this company, Ms. Harrison? I asked without turning around. No, she said quietly, because I wanted to prove him wrong. Your father, every person who ever looked at my parents and saw something less. I wanted to build something so big, so successful, that they'd have to acknowledge that we were enough, that we always were. I turned back to face her. For 15 years, I've imagined this moment, meeting your father, or someone close to him, having the power to hurt him the way he hurt me, hurt my family. I let the words hang in the air. I could reject you right now. You're qualified, but so are the other candidates. I could make sure you never work in education again. One call to the right people, and your career is over. Sarah's face was steady despite the tears. I know. Do you know what that would do to your father? My voice grew emotional despite myself. Knowing his daughter lost her dream job because of something he did 15 years ago, the karma, the poetry. It would destroy him, Sarah said quietly. What little he has left. She paused, then added something that hit me like a punch. But it wouldn't change what he did, and it wouldn't change who you are. I stared at her. She stood up, wiping her tears away. You're Moses Rodriguez. You built $1 billion company from nothing. You employ thousands of people. Your software has helped millions of students. Students like you were access education they couldn't afford. You've donated over $50 million to scholarship programs for underprivileged kids. She walked to the door, then turned back to face me. You're not the kid my father rejected anymore. You're the man who proved him wrong just by existing, by succeeding, by being exactly who you were meant to be. Her voice grew quiet but powerful. If you reject me, you have every right. But please, don't do it to hurt him. Don't become him. The door closed behind her, and I was alone with my thoughts. That night, I called my parents. They are retired now, living in the house I bought them in the suburbs, the one with the garden my mother always wanted. Mijo, it's late. Is everything okay? Mom's voice was warm, concerned. Mom, do you remember Principal Harrison? From West Side Academy. There was a long pause, heavy, loaded with memories neither of us wanted to revisit. Yes, she said quietly. I remember. I heard movement. Dad taking the phone. Maria, who is it? Then to me. Moses? Why are you asking about him? His daughter applied for a job at my company. I interviewed her today. Dad's voice turned hard, protective. You sent her away, yes? You told her what her father did. I told her. I said, my own voice breaking. Dad, I could destroy her career, make him feel what we felt. There was a long silence. Then my father's voice, softer than I'd ever heard it. Mijo, that night, that terrible night, you know what hurt most? Not what he said about us, but watching you, Hijo, my brilliant boy, believing that his hatred meant something, that we weren't enough. I heard Mom crying in the background. Carlos. Dad continued, his voice thick with emotion. But you know what? You proved him wrong. Not by becoming rich, not by being powerful. You prove him wrong by being kind, by being good, by helping other kids like you. If you hurt his daughter to hurt him, then maybe he was right. Maybe we did fail you. Tears were streaming down my face. Dad, no, you never failed me. Never. Then don't fail yourself. Hijo, he said firmly but lovingly. Don't let his poison live in your heart for one more day. You are not that angry 12-year-old boy anymore. You are Moses Rodriguez, and we are so proud of the man you became. Mom took the phone back, her voice gentle. Moses, am I more? Do what your heart tells you, not your anger, your heart. I didn't sleep that night, just sat in my penthouse office, looking out at the city lights, thinking about choices, about who I was, who I wanted to be. At 8 a.m., I called Jennifer. I've made my decision on the VP position, I said, my voice calm and resolved. Great. Which candidate? I took a deep breath. Sarah Harrison. But I want to meet with her first. One more time. In person. Sarah walked into the conference room, looking like she hadn't slept either. Her eyes were red, her shoulders tense, braced for rejection. Mr. Rodriguez, thank you for seeing me. I assume you're going to tell me. The job is yours, I interrupted, if you still want it. She froze, stared at me in disbelief. What? I stood and walked toward her. You're the most qualified candidate. Your track record speaks for itself. Those kids you showed me, that's the work I want leading our educational partnerships. Work that matters. Work that changes lives. But after what my father... You are not your father, I said firmly, and I am not the scared 12-year-old boy he tried to break. I paused, feeling the weight lift from my shoulders. For 15 years, I built this company on a foundation of anger, revenge, proving people wrong. And you know what? I'm tired. I'm tired of carrying that weight. I sat down across from her. My father called me last night. Do you know what he said? He said hurting you would prove your father right. That hatred one, that we learn nothing. Moses, Sarah's voice was choked with emotion. I want to build something different, I continued. Not a company built on anger, but one built on making sure what happened to me, to my parents, Never happens to another kid. Ever. I looked at her directly, and I can't think of anyone better to help me do that than someone who understands the cost, who's seen both sides, who chose to fight for the kids nobody else fights for. Sarah was crying openly now. I don't know what to say. I gave her a small smile. Say you'll take the job. Say you'll help me make sure every kid, regardless of who their parents are, gets the chance they deserve. She nodded, unable to speak. There's one condition, though, I said quietly. She wiped her eyes. Anything. I want to meet with your father, face to face. 2 weeks later, I flew to Florida. Sarah had arranged everything. Her father had no idea who I was, just that his daughter's new boss wanted to meet him. The coffee shop was small, quiet, casual, nothing like his old office with its mahogany desk and wall of diplomas. Richard Harrison looked smaller, older. The expensive suits were gone. He wore khakis and a polo shirt. His hair was white. His face was lined with age and what looked like regret. "Mr. Rodriguez," he said, extending his hand with a humble smile. "Thank you for hiring my daughter. She's worked so hard. This opportunity means everything to her. To us." I shook his hand. It was softer than my father's had ever been. "Please, sit. I wanted to talk to you about something." He sat down eagerly. "Of course. Anything. I have to tell you, what you've built is incredible. Sarah showed me your scholarship programs, the work you're doing for underprivileged students. Do you remember Moses Rodriguez?" I interrupted. He blinked. Confusion crossed his face. I'm not sure. I taught thousands of students over the years. West Side Academy, 2008 Parent-Teacher Night. A 12-year-old boy who would be nominated for the Presidential Scholars Program. His parents were immigrants. His father worked construction. His mother cleaned houses. Recognition dawned slowly, then all at once. His face went completely pale. "Oh my God," he whispered. "You told them they weren't the right fit," I said, my voice steady and calm. "That they would embarrass the school. That they lacked breeding in class. You gave my nomination to another student. In front of a hallway full of people, you humiliated my parents." His hands were shaking. I remember." His voice broke. "I remember." "Do you remember what you said?" "Exactly." Tears formed in his eyes. "Yes. God help me. Yes. I said terrible things. Unforgivable things." My own emotion was rising, years of pain finally being spoken aloud to the man who caused it. I went home that night and watched my mother cry. Watched my father apologize for not being good enough. Do you understand what that does to a child? Watching the two people you love most in the world broken because someone told them they weren't worthy. Harrison was crying openly now. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. There's no excuse. I was arrogant. Elitist. I thought I was protecting the school's image. I thought." His voice broke completely. "I thought I mattered more than I did. That those connections, that status, were what made someone valuable." He put his head in his hands, shoulders shaking. "You're not the first person I hurt," he said, his voice muffled. "There were others, so many others. Kids I overlooked. Families I dismissed. I built my whole career on the wrong foundations. And when it all came crashing down, the investigations, the scandal, my wife's disappointment, I finally understood. But by then, it was too late." "What did you understand?" I asked quietly. He looked up, his face wet with tears. "That I was wrong. About everything. That the kids I dismissed, kids like you, were exactly the ones who would have made the school better. Who would have made the world better. I wasted years worrying about appearance and status while the real value was right in front of me." He paused, his voice raw. "I destroyed lives, including my own." I stood up, my voice hard. "Do you know why I hired your daughter?" He looked up at me fearfully. "To punish me, to show me what I destroyed. No," I said firmly. "I hired her because she's brilliant. Because she fights for the kids you ignored. Because she spent her entire career trying to undo the damage people like you caused. I paused. She is everything you should have been. He nodded, broken. She is. She's better than me in every way. I began pacing. I could have rejected her, made you feel the pain my parents felt, destroyed her career the way you tried to destroy mine. Do you know how badly I wanted that? Yes, he whispered. I sat back down, suddenly exhausted. But my father, the man you dismiss as beneath you, told me something. He said if I did that, you'd win. That hatred would win. I let out a long breath. He was right. The silence in the coffee shop felt heavy, profound. I'm not here for your apology, I said, looking directly into his eyes. I don't need it. I'm here to tell you that you were wrong. About me, about my parents, about every student you ever judged based on their address or their parents' job or the color of their skin. Harrison nodded. I was completely wrong. My father, who you dismissed, taught me about dignity, honor, hard work. My mother, who you mocked for cleaning houses, taught me compassion, resilience, love. They gave me everything I needed to succeed. Not money, not connections, character. He couldn't speak, just nodded through his tears. I didn't need your presidential scholars program. I continued, my voice softer now. I made it anyway, on my own terms. And now I run a company that helps thousands of kids like I was. Kids whose parents work construction and clean houses and drive buses and do all the jobs you thought weren't good enough. I know, Harrison whispered. Sarah tells me about it. About the scholarships, the programs. You're changing lives, the way I should have. I stood to leave, then stopped. I'm not telling you this to make you feel better. Or worse. I'm telling you because I need you to understand something. He looked up at me. I forgive you. His head snapped up in shock. What? I forgive you, I repeated, my voice emotional but firm. Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. I've carried your words, your hatred, for 15 years. I'm done. I'm letting it go. I paused, making sure he understood. But understand this. My forgiveness doesn't erase what you did. It doesn't make it okay. It just means I'm not going to let you poison one more day of my life. Thank you, he sobbed. Thank you. I don't deserve. You're right. You don't. I interrupted. But your daughter does. She deserves a father who's proud of her, who supports her, who learns from his mistakes. I looked at him intently. Can you be that man? He straightened up, determination cutting through his tears. Yes, I swear to you, yes. I walked to the door, then turned back one last time. Then prove it. Not to me. To every student who walks through a school door thinking they're not good enough. Make sure they know they are. That they always were. A year has passed. Sarah Harrison is now one of my best VPs. Under her leadership, we've launched scholarship programs in 20 states. Last month, we awarded full-ride college scholarships to 50 students from underprivileged backgrounds. My parents attended the ceremony. Dad wore the same Goodwill suit. He refuses to get rid of it. It reminds me where we came from. He says, Mom wore yellow. They sat in the front row, crying proud tears as those 50 kids walked across the stage. Richard Harrison was there too. Sarah had invited him. He sat in the back, quiet, but I saw him crying, really crying, watching those kids he would have dismissed 15 years ago, get their chance. After the ceremony, he approached me hesitantly. Mr. Rodriguez, he said humbly, I wanted to thank you for giving me the chance to see this, to see what I should have been building all along. I nodded. You're welcome. I've been volunteering, he continued, his voice uncertain but sincere, at a youth center in my neighborhood, tutoring kids, helping with college applications. It's not much, but it's a start, I said, giving him a small smile. He nodded, started to walk away, then turned back. Your parents, he said quietly, they raised an extraordinary man. They should be very proud. I looked across the room at my mother and father, watching them laugh with the scholarship recipients, treating each kid like they were their own. They always were, I said, "People ask me if I got my revenge. If it felt good to become Principal Harrison's daughter's boss, to have that power over him. The truth? The revenge wasn't in rejecting Sarah. It wasn't in making Harrison feel small. The revenge was in proving him wrong. In becoming exactly who my parents always knew I could be. In building something that helps kids like I was. In choosing compassion over cruelty. The revenge was in winning. Not over him, but over the hate he tried to plant in my heart. My mother still cleans houses sometimes. Not because she has to. I've offered 1,000 times to support her. But because, as she says, there's dignity in all honest work, mijo. My father still wears that Goodwill suit to special occasions. Still has rough hand from years of construction. Still speaks with an accent. And they are still the most dignified, classy, worthy people I have ever known. Richard Harrison was wrong about a lot of things. But he was most wrong about this. You can't buy what you don't have. Because my parents had everything all along. They just had it in their hearts instead of their bank accounts. And that, it turns out, is worth more than all the Ivy League degrees and country club memberships in the world.